Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever discovered in my over 46 years of doing therapy. These tools are gratefully available absolutely free due to the tireless efforts of Michael and Jeannie Ryce. And the website for that is whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the red and white bullseye or the link in the upper left-hand corner of most pages that says Start Here, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Ryce's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of that book provides a narrative description of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet, and it's a tool I'm using consistently throughout my life the past 16 years to improve the quality of my life, to manage my emotions, and turn any negative emotion into a very useful part of that infallible guidance system that each of us has. So you can download the actual worksheet process itself. You can download the PDF file, print it off, and use it as often as you'd like. You can also download a whole host of audio files of shows like this one, where people have been stepped through that worksheet process. They serve as a tutorial for how to use that tool in your life. And you can also go to your app store and type in the three words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness and get access to the completely free and private app that contains a copy of that reality management worksheet, an abbreviated version of that worksheet process, and a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. And we encourage people to do that soon and often because it often stirs up questions, comments, and then we ask them to call us at 563-999-3581. If you call us at that number, and you can listen to the show on hold, or you can press 1, it'll put a question mark by your phone number, and it'll announce you by your area code, and we can have a conversation. We have made the commitment this year to be working through the Course in Miracles lessons, today being the 82nd day of the year. Lesson 82 in the Course in Miracles workbook is a review. It's a review of Lesson 63, which says, The light of the world brings peace to every mind through my forgiveness. My forgiveness is the means by which the light of the world finds expression through me. Forgiveness is the means by which I become aware of the light of the world in me. So we should review here that the word forgiveness as we're using it, and the word forgiveness as A Course in Miracles and the Way of Mastery uses it, is about a removal tool, a tool that removes everything that's unlike love, everything that's unlike this light of the world that you're made of, and lets that light shine brightly, lets you see it, lets other people see it. This isn't about pardoning someone for something horrible they did. This is about applying a tool, the tool of forgiveness, the tool of removal for everything that's unlike love from your system, which makes it so you can see, feel, and experience your true nature as the light of the world, and others can see and feel and experience your true nature and theirs. So my forgiveness is the means by which the world is healed together with myself. Let me then forgive the world or remove everything that's unlike the truth of the world from my awareness, that it may be healed along with me. Specific suggestions of the form of this for today are, let peace extend from my mind to yours, and then name a particular person. I share the light of the world with you, and then name a particular person. Through my forgiveness, I can see this as it is. Also in today's review is a review of Lesson 64. Let me not forget my function. I would not forget my function because I would remember my true self. I cannot fulfill my function if I forget my true self, my true nature, as this energy of creation, expressing and extending in form. Suitable, specific forms of this idea include, let me not use this, whatever is happening in front of me, to hide my function from me. I would use this, whatever is happening in this moment, as an opportunity to fulfill my function, to shine the light of awareness, the light of creation in this moment. This, whatever's happening in this moment, may seem to threaten my ego, but it cannot change my function in any way. We've also agreed to work with Pam Grout's book, A Course in Miracles Experiment. Lesson 82, she titles, Hallelujah Anyway. She quotes Rebecca Solnit as saying, memory of joy and liberation can become a navigational tool, an identity, a gift. From the need to know category, when I let go of everything I believe, perfect days unfurl before me. And the song recommended is Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves. But it's just so unfair. It's a cinch to be grateful when the sails of life are blowing your way. But what about when those times when things appear to not be working out? My tack is to say, hallelujah, anyway. My friend Gail told me about a girls' outing. One of the friends of the day woke to find her daughter running a fever. She called Gail whimpering about her bad luck. Gail responded the way she responds to everything. That's fabulous. No, you didn't hear me, her girlfriend said. I'm not going to be able to go today. And Gail said, that's fabulous. Gail reminded her that she'd been needing some free time to sift through paperwork and that this so-called setback provided the perfect opportunity. Her friend thanked Gail for the reminder, and not only did she end up having a delightful day with her daughter, but while cruising the internet, they came across the very house she'd been lusting after for 3 years. This dream house was way more than she could afford, but on this day, while dealing with the disappointment of thwarted plans, she saw that, quote, her house, close quote, had gone into foreclosure and was selling for 1/4 of the price. As Gail said, quote, she now has a contract on her dream home, close quotes. So, when the day seems to be going in a direction other than or perhaps even exactly opposite to the way you had planned, Pam Grout suggests shouting out, hallelujah anyway. So our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And we have 50 full minutes to have a conversation, to embrace your questions and engage in a discussion. Whether it's about something in today's lesson from Course in Miracles or something from a previous show. We've had a few of them. We've had 10 years of five days a week, 1 hour a day. 8 years of that, and then two more years of 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. So if there is something that you might want to have us focus on as a topic, or some question you have about the work or about what's going on in your life these days, our friend Susan sent me something from Pam Grout. Pam Grout, as an author, also does posts on a WordPress blog. And the writing is about how Anthony Hopkins has a an attitude that he uses to look at the world that is right in line with Pam Grout's work, Course in Miracles, Way of Mastery, etc. At the top of the blog post, she quotes Anthony Hopkins, who says, "I do believe more than ever that there is a vast area of our own lives that we know nothing about." So she writes, "So the headline for this post comes from the great Sir Anthony Hopkins. Only in this version, he longs to be a little boy. He even carries a photo of his 4-year-old self on his phone that he often looks at, and he says to the photo, 'We did good, kid. We did good.'" As you may have heard, the 83-year-old actor was recently nominated for an Oscar yet again for his role in The Father. I was intrigued after reading a recent article in The New Yorker where, when he was asked about memorizing so many lines, he mentioned that he tells himself, "I've got a perfect memory." He said it's a form of self-hypnosis and that he's very careful with what he says to himself about himself. While he doesn't tout the law of attraction, Hopkins is a long-time devotee of what he calls intentionality. That's why he repeats an affirmation every morning. "I am alive, I am well, I am filled with perfect and abundant life." He quotes, "We are the direct products of everything we've ever thought. Even the most insignificant thought can change your life, for better or worse. In whatever field, business, acting, or whatever, it's all about what you dream." Pam writes, "His tact is to always act as if it's impossible to fail. Whether he's painting, and he describes himself as a painting fiend, whether he's composing, his orchestral works have been performed in Moscow and London, or whether he's playing Hannibal Lecter, Richard Nixon, or King Lear. Absolutely anything is possible," he claims. Quote, "I don't know why we say no so much," close quotes. But the one conclusion he has come to is that our existence is far beyond understanding. Whether you believe in God or you are an atheist, he says, life is beyond explanation. Pam quotes him as saying, "I'm not clever enough to have designed this life. There has to be something bigger going on." Quote, "The only reason we don't see God is because we're always looking for him. God is in everything, and we are all connected, and while it's all in a dream within a dream, I'm compelled to say to whoever is running this show, thank you so very much." And then at the bottom of the blog post it says, "Pam Grout is the author of 20 books, including E Squared, E Cubed, Thank and Grow Rich, and her latest book, which we are reading day by day, The Course in Miracles Experiment, a starter kit for your rewiring your mind, and therefore your world." So perhaps those thoughts are sparking some comment or question from our listening audience. 563-999-3581. You call that number and press 1. We can have a conversation. What's on your mind? What's turning your boat? What's twisting your sail? What's putting a hitch in your giddy up? What are you getting excited about positively in your life? With any luck, sometime today on journeystream.org/podcast, they will release the interview I did with Laura McGowan, who is the author of the book We Are the Luckiest. And that's available on journeystream.org/podcast. And if it hasn't posted yet, apparently it is posted. So if you go to journeystream.org/podcast, you can listen to the 40-some minutes of of the interview with Laura McGowan, who has written one of the two books that I frequently recommend to people, that is all about the need for and the benefit of becoming more deeply and profoundly honest in our lives and with ourselves, and uncovering all of the various ways in which we're not as honest as we believe at times. I come into contact with people on a regular basis in my practice who, whether they realize it or not, have just created a rat's nest of omissions and half-truths and out-and-out lies that are making it very, very difficult for them to function. It takes a tremendous amount of mental, emotional energy to keep track of who you said what to and who is allowed to know this about you or that about you. And one of the things that so many of us don't even realize is that we've got various versions of ourself that we show in one place or another, or don't allow to be seen in other places. And so, Guy Finley at one point in one of his talks says, we've become master seminar attendees and we learn all of this intellectual stuff. And yet, if we don't learn how to practically apply it to make our lives better, then we end up in situations where we're having a heart attack trying to figure out who we're supposed to be in this situation or that situation to keep from offending somebody or to make sure somebody still likes us when it's all said and done. And that is not useful. If I'm studying A Course in Miracles because I think, this woman I want to date is into Course in Miracles, and the more I learn about it, the better we're going to get along, it's probably going to be a bust. If I have a driving impulse within me to understand myself better, to be more conversant in my actual daily life with some of the critical spiritual principles that have been driving conversations and religions for centuries, then, picking up the Course in Miracles might be a useful thing to do. If I'm actually using the exercises, if I'm trying to usher myself into a position, into a place where I can have an experience that's significantly different in one way or another than all of the other experiences I've had up until now. What we're looking at the idea that I can demonstrate to myself on a regular basis, which is that I'm the one creating my experience of life. And I do that with the thoughts I choose and the interpretations I place upon the situations I find myself in. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and they said, when they're working with their sponsees in their AA group, they routinely say to these people who they say they're upset about one thing or another that somebody said or did or didn't do that they think they should. And so they say to them, you know what? You're not supposed to know that. This is none of your business. That's not the thing that's making you upset. What's making you upset is your interpretation about it. You're pouring constant mental energy into the thought, this isn't supposed to be happening. That's what's creating your upset. And at the core of this work, whether it's the Way of Mastery, the Course in Miracles, the Course of Love, at the core of this work is the direct observation that I'm the one creating my experience of life every moment by the ways that I choose to interpret and then respond to the events of life. And when I think, as my culture has taught me to think, that you made me angry and you're hurting my feelings and you're offending me, I've just built a prison for myself, locked the door, and thrown away the key. No one else has done that to me. No one has offended me if they come to me for a therapy session, and this happened just recently, and we had a therapy session, and I recommended to the person that he or she might want to look into a book or two and we could continue our work together, and I talked about the usual things I do in a first session, and the person ended the session and seemed to be having a wonderful time and gladly agreed to get up, sign up for another session, and we scheduled it. And then, 4 or 5 days later, I get a text message that says, I'm canceling. I don't think we're a good match. And it's done. I'm not coming back. Cancel my appointment. Well, if I'd gotten that text message or voicemail or email from somebody 20 years ago, I probably would have spent days obsessing about it. What did I do wrong? What did I say or what did I not say that I should have? I never should have recommended that book. How can I make it up to that person? Maybe I should call him. Maybe I should offer him a free session to see if I can fix it. And I would have put myself through at least days of emotional turmoil and upset. I've learned, thankfully, over the past 20, 25 years, with a lot of rigorous application of these observations and tools, that person isn't upsetting me, and I shouldn't try to make myself over into the perfect therapist for that person. I should just continue being the best me I know how to be and trust that those people who are interested in working with me are the right ones to be working with me, and those who choose not to are the right ones to go work with somebody else. And if I start to feel sadness, or I start to feel regret or remorse, or I start to feel fear that I might have done something wrong, that's the signal that I should pick up a reality management worksheet and map out what I'm doing in my mind to create all of that emotional upset, and choose to actively cancel the process that's creating the emotional upset and ask to be shown another way to look at this. I could ask myself, what am I making this situation mean? I could ask myself, what else might this mean? I could ask myself the series of questions from the Sedona release method or from Ho'oponopono, or the statements from there, or I could ask myself the questions from Byron Katie's work, or I could ask myself the questions in the first 3 steps of the reality management worksheet and then map out my answers and then cancel all of that and ask to be shown something else. And with great regularity, when I do that, the transformation for the better in my life is significant and enduring. And it's based on observation. The primary observation with this work is no one outside of me, no thing outside of me is causing my emotional state or response. Yes, there are things that happen in the world and things that people do that might cause physical discomfort for me. They might cause me financial harm or financial adjustment, and yet that is not what's responsible for any emotional state that I generate within me. And the more I recognize that, the more I observe it so I can see it directly in the moment, the more it gives me the liberty to respond in a way that has me focusing on what's the actual mechanism creating the emotional response in my system. And if I do that, I end up with far more practical and useful results in my life. I end up being able to use my emotional state as this guidance system. And when I'm feeling a calm, loving, compassionate, safe, secure set of emotions, or joyful emotions, I can pretty well know my thoughts are probably headed in the right direction. And if I have any kind of a negative emotional response, tension, judgment, anger, hurt, I can know pretty consistently that my thoughts are headed in the wrong direction. And the solution is a course correction in my thoughts and then in my words and actions. The solution is not trying to force or manipulate someone or something outside of me to change so that I don't have to feel the emotional response that my own choice of interpretation is generating. We were talking about this yesterday with Susan. Susan was talking about having heard a comment from her grandson that is basically like the words of a terrorist, threatening the hostages if you don't comply. And it doesn't matter what the situation is. If I have somebody that I know and they're experiencing a negative emotion and they say to me, I'm responsible for their negative emotion, and they want me to change this, that, or the other thing so that they don't have to experience that, I can know instantly this is an error in thought. This is an inaccurate judgment of life and circumstances. And a far better response than changing what I'm doing to try and accommodate somebody else is to assist that person in seeing they are the ones who are creating their internal emotional state. They are the ones who have dominion over the thoughts they choose and the interpretations they choose moment to moment. And that's the only thing that's creating their emotional response. The more I do that for myself, the more I assist myself in moving from upset to compassion, the more I demonstrate to myself consistently and persistently over time that that's the only thing that's created my emotions, the easier it is for me to understand that I'm not creating other people's emotions either. They're not creating my negative emotions, and I'm not creating theirs. And with the use of these tools, I can move from the emotional upset that I thought was being caused by the outside and outside circumstances or people, and have an active, in the moment, in vivo demonstration that I'm feeling better even though nothing outside of me has changed. So, we're encouraging people to step into that soon and often. We're encouraging people to recognize that when they choose a negative thought, Anthony Hopkins says, you're in the process of creating your experience. So watch every thought you have, because the potential is there for you to create positively or negatively. So our call-in number is 563-999-3581. We have 30 minutes left. We have a total of 7 callers, and I don't see anybody in the chat room right now, so we can entertain your comments or questions, or we can start a topic of your choosing and discuss it for a while, or we can help somebody step through a worksheet if they think that would be of use to them. How can we support you today? I sent somebody a paragraph or two from the book, We Are the Luckiest, today, and it had to do with the idea of the phrase that came to me for this person was the phrase, let it burn. And the idea is that so often we find something, whether it's a drug or food or buying something or a game, a video game or whatever, but we find something to do to distract us from just feeling whatever we're feeling. And so the wisdom that Laura McGowan came to is it's so critically important to just stay with it, to let, even if the feeling feels like it's burning, let it churn, let it burn. Feel whatever it is you're feeling. And while there are different levels of experience and capacity that each of us have for this, certain of us were given life experiences when we were young that were nurturing and supportive, and or we were just lucky with the genetics that we inherited, and we've got a greater or lesser tolerance for sitting with intense emotions. So it isn't going to be the same for everyone. And yet, what is the same for everyone is that I can't benefit my overall life situation and relationships by running from my emotions. I can run from them, and I can be fairly well convinced that I need to run from them to get distracted with drugs or alcohol or food or repetitive behaviors, and I can do that. And I might feel that I might be absolutely convinced that I need to do that because I just can't tolerate, staying with the experience of the emotions if they're too intense. And yet, only way to move my life to a better place, to heal relationships, to improve. I just got a text message that I don't understand. So let's see if we can get a clarification.
Hi, Dr. Tim. I thought it would be obvious. It shows that maybe I'm really, really in bad shape here, but I often reach for my iPhone when I start feeling uncomfortable.
Oh, so you're using that as a distraction, you mean? Okay.
Right. It's a real addiction. It is.
Well, anything that we use as a distraction, it can work temporarily, but the point I'm making is that it doesn't have any long-term benefits. It might feel to me as though I absolutely need to do this because I cannot tolerate the intensity of my negative emotions. That might truly be the case. But at the same time that may be true, it's also true that avoiding those emotions is not helping anything long-term. It's not helping my relationships. It's not helping my mental health. It's not going to help, my physical health or my finances. So.
Right. Well, I understand that, and what I think I'm doing is making a deal with myself. Okay, we need to parse these bad feelings out at a little more farther apart. And so I'm going to use my iPhone for a second, and then I'll come back to it. Anyway, I just got on the show, so I don't even know where you've been, and I apologize because I'm just jumping in. But when you said that, I thought, he didn't mention an iPhone use.
It's anything we use, right? It's anything we use. And I read the blog post from Pam Grout that you sent from Anthony Hopkins, so we've talked briefly about
that amazing?
Yep.
That's amazing to me.
He's tapping into the truths, and the truths are out there. They cut across religious and philosophical teachings and have for thousands and thousands of years. People like Guy Finley talk about how it's been around as long as there's been human consciousness. This wisdom was seeded, seeded, into this world.
Right.
Thousands and thousands of years ago. No one has a corner on the market. It's not one person who brought this into the world. It's not, some human, half God, half woman who brought it in. It's been around ever since there was human consciousness.
Mhm. Speaking of all that, she had another quote. You know how she puts at the top of each chapter a quote. And this quote is by Rebecca Solnit. It says, "Memory of joy and liberation can become a navigational tool, an identity, a gift." And I was thinking how you say the same thing without saying it. When you do the patter, the worksheet patter, when you stop us and you say, "Go to that place," which she calls a memory of joy or liberation, and that becomes the navigational tool. Once again, it's just that the wisdom is right out there, and here's another way of saying that.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the things that I get into territory where people start getting upset on a regular basis, and I can't control that upset. At the same time, I can't honestly buy into the idea that one church, one religion, one minister, one spiritual teacher, one guru has something that is new.
Yeah. I agree with you, and yet when I do the worksheet, to me that was new. And it was new because it helped me focus my thoughts, organize my thoughts, limit my crazy thoughts to one feeling, one thought, one story, and find my way to the universal upset, the basic upset underneath it all that might be applicable across the board. And you can find your way there using that tool. So it's true, I'm tempted when I talk to people about this work. I can say, the truth is out there, it's all over the place, but you've got to get there using this tool. This is how you get there. So I've been guilty of that, of thinking it's the only way I ever found to get there. So it's good to be reminded there are even other ways of getting there.
Yeah, I had somebody today tell me that one of his teachers said to him, "Hey, Larry, what else might this mean, whatever the life situation is?"
Uh-huh.
And he said to me, that reminds me, Dr. Hayes, of your question, what am I making this situation mean? It's the same wisdom, a slightly different word format.
Right.
I'm the one that creates the meaning that I place on life events, and it only has the meaning for me that I give to it.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that, I've been talking about these two books, The Untamed and The Surprising Magic of a Silver Life. We are the luckiest, The Surprising Magic of a Silver Life, because of the way both of these women have discovered and write so beautifully about the need for deeper and deeper honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And it is shocking sometimes how far we move from total honesty in our regular daily pattern. I think I've mentioned this before, but one of the chapters in that book is titled The Truth About Lying. And when I did the interview with Laura, she said, that's the chapter people talk about most often.
Mm.
But she writes beautifully about how dishonesty and beginning with omissions and then eventually little white lies, etc., and crept into her life to the point where she was always having to keep track of what had she said here and there, and who was she supposed to be with this group of people, and
right. There's an old Chinese saying, "He who lie must have long memory." You probably have heard that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And she talks about how, after years of that kind of a cycle, she had a friend who was truly a friend who invited her over to his house for a Saturday get-together, and he came in and said, "I just want to tell you something." And all he said to her was, "You don't have to lie."
That is so cool. I remember that. Yeah.
And she said, I replied instantly with my usual, I know, because I know, I got this. I'm competent. I'm an adult. I'm a smart person. I know. You don't have to tell me. I understand everything. And she got defensive, but then she stopped herself. And she asked him for examples, and he was able to give her, a whole series of examples. And then she just burst out crying.
Yeah. What a friend.
Yeah.
Mm.
But that was the beginning, and it wasn't like throwing a switch. She talks about how, he gave her that gift, and then she continued to lie and to drink and lie about drinking and lie about a whole bunch of other things, and for a year or two or three. But eventually what she did was she found, through the group of people that she was using to get sober, the community that she found examples in her life of people who were just absolutely committed to being honest.
Yeah.
And she says, I still have to work on it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, think about all of the different ways and places in your life where you're not 100% open and honest about what's going on for you.
Yeah, so true.
And, of course, this doesn't mean I can't have any privacy. This simply means I'm not going to lie about it if confronted or if someone asks me.
Mm-hmm.
I was having a conversation with somebody the other day in a session, and she said, and this is something I would never want my fiance to know. Wait, use your most colorful imagination to figure out what Dr. Hayes' response was to that. Dr. Tim did not sit there impassively and let that huge pink striped elephant saunter through the room. I got out of my chair, I jumped on the elephant's back, I started flapping its ears and directing it in various circles around the room until I got the point across. What do you mean? This is something you never want your fiancé to know. This is a person that you want to share your life with and your bed with and the rest of your life with.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're saying to me is, I want to have a fundamentally dishonest and shaky relationship with my fiancé? No, she says. No, I'm not saying that at all. Okay, well then, let's rethink this. Oh my gosh, you don't mean I should tell him everything that's ever happened to me in my past? Well, I don't believe I said those words. However, my relationship to a series of events in my past, and if I have decided these are things I have to keep secret, every bit of mental energy I put on keeping that a secret is feeding an identical amount of energy into the conclusion that I'm damaged, I'm broken, I'm unlovable, and if the person I'm trying to keep the secret from found out about it, he or she would attack me or run away from me. So this is the actual dynamic in us human beings by which we keep ourselves sick with our secrets.
Mm-hmm.
So while I didn't tell her, you need to go home right now and tell this to that person, because there's nothing about it that directly affects their health and safety and welfare and finances for today. It's an event from the past. But at the same time that I'm telling her she doesn't have to go home and tell him all about this right now, if she wants to be healthier and if she wants to be able to engage in a healthy, loving relationship with any other human being, she needs to be okay if and when somebody finds out about this. She needs to know she's already okay and whole as a person, even though this thing happened in the past.
Right.
That the fact that it happened doesn't increase or decrease her value as a person. And therefore, there is no need for her to put any mental energy into hiding it from someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, that's a world of difference from holding the thought, oh boy, I don't ever want him to find this out.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that happened. I'm not proud of it. On a good day, if faced with the opportunity today, I would not choose what I chose back then. I've learned a lot of lessons from it, and it's not going to define me. I'm not going to let it define me.
Right.
So, that was a bit of a tangent, but there you have it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, and I don't know if it's appropriate to mention that Jeannie and Michael have very openly discussed the fact that Jeannie finally told Michael about some things in her past that she hadn't told anyone for whatever reason, but it only deepened their relationship when she did. But that would be something.
Well, that's all it ever does in a healthy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's the truth only, always and forever, deepens healthy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
The truth might also reveal a very unhealthy, broken pattern of interaction that's been masquerading as a healthy relationship. But it doesn't destroy.
I understand.
It doesn't.
Sure.
Yeah, it doesn't destroy a healthy relationship.
That's good.
I'm going to go back and listen to that on the tape, because I don't think I've ever said it that way before. But
that was good, Dr. Tim. A quotable quote. Well,
but a lot of people would create some mental gymnastics and some ways to prove to you that, oh no, I told this person the truth and it was the end of our relationship, right? And that, however I just said it, is talking to the fact that if the truth comes to light and is openly shared, it will only, always and forever strengthen any healthy relationship. And if a pattern of interacting meets the truth and then the pattern breaks off, all the truth did was reveal it as not a healthy pattern of interaction, not a healthy relationship to begin with.
Right. Well, we're sort of leaking into a topic, and if you don't have somebody's hand up, it's a whole new one related to this.
Go ahead.
I have had a relationship with a woman who I went to see as a counselor years ago when I had shingles, and it was pre-worksheet, pre-you guys radio show. I went to her because the shingles was severe, and I had a lot of anxiety, brain fog, fatigue. I was really at the end of my rope. And she was, I learned about her as a healer and someone who could help me get through it. And she did help me. She helped me very much. And then I saw her for a while and stopped working with her because her manner of working was scary to me, and I know that's my issue. She said I had dark entities around me and dark forces, and I began to feel that she was rather dark, and I didn't feel safe. And then Michael Ryce's work came on, and I found it so safe, so non-invasive, and yet probing, that I stopped working with her. But somehow we kept in touch, and we became sort of friends. And then she recently learned this new modality called biomagnetism. And she called me up and she said, what are the things you'd like to fix? Well, when I play the piano, my ears ring because I have tinnitus, and it's worse when I play the piano. I have sleeping issues, etc., a sore arm. I gave her the list. And, hello. And she said she could, I'm walking home, she said she could fix me because she had been doing this herself, and she said, I've never felt better. I'm just in great shape, and I want to, and she offered me some sessions for which I would pay, but she said, let's do 3 sessions, and you'll notice right away. Well, I don't know whether it's my resistance or what, but after my first session, which she had many reactions to, she was going, oh, do you feel that? I feel it. And I thought, I don't feel anything. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm that woman in is it hair? Is this, and I felt nothing. I thought, well, what's going on here? I said to her, you're getting a lot of benefit out of this session, and it's great. And she said, oh, no, I wish that were true. You're the one getting the benefit. And I thought, well, maybe I'll feel it later. I know, this is a funny story, but I'm gullible, Dr. Tim, and I'm also susceptible to sweeping promises and the pressure a person can put on me. I knuckle under. I don't keep a good boundary, and that dovetails with boundaries we were talking about yesterday. Well, I'm about to have my second session. After my first session, I had a weekend of serious anxiety, and there were things going on in the family, and I did my worksheets, but I didn't think that the magnetism session was helpful. And my tinnitus is as bad as ever. I had to go get a shot in my arm, which helped, cortisone in the MRSA. And there are other issues in there, but I had an x-ray, and he said, you've got bone-on-bone arthritis in that arm from that injury. You really traumatized that arm. And I don't want to operate on it, but, you're highly functional with that arm. It's just not up to your standard. You're used to moving around and being, fully functional, and you're not fully functional in that arm, and I can see why you're frustrated, but I wouldn't want to touch it. I'll give you some exercises, and so on and so forth. But here I am, about to have my second session at 3 o'clock, and I'm in full-blown resistance, thinking she's not for real. This isn't for real. I'm not going to get anything out of it. I'm setting myself up anyway, and I had reservations. I should have said, I'm very happy with the work I'm doing with Michael Ryce and Tim Hayes, and I'm just going to stick with that. But I could have said that. I didn't say it because I felt pressure from her to do this.
And you can take a look at, with the worksheet process or journaling, whatever you like to do better, you can take a look at what your goal was that led you to override your intuition.
Right.
And cancel that goal and find out what that underlying dynamic is at least in this case, was driving you to do something that's against your better judgment.
Yeah. And I've done worksheets. I've been doing them for a couple of weeks. And it all comes back to power person dynamics, wanting to be pleasing, wanting to be liked, wanting to be well thought of. You know, the old garbage. I guess more or less I'm confessing. I'm confessing.
But here's the idea, is that you want to keep doing those things. You want to keep doing those worksheets, because if you're still in the space of denying your better judgment, there's more work to do. There's more underlying dynamic.
Totally. I agree. There is.
You might call it, deeper layers of the same fear or trauma or hope for resolution.
Yeah, and I'm afraid that if I get nothing out of this, she'll say, well, you're in severe resistance. Of course you're not getting anything out of it. And I am. Anyway, thank you for listening to that, Dr. Tim.
And if she says that, then you can praise her for her insight. Wow, you're really intuitive. You nailed that completely. I'm in resistance. I didn't want to do this in the first place.
Oh, I love it.
Well, that would be honest, right?
Yes, and you're talking about honesty, and I haven't been honest. But Ramakrishna used to say, tell the truth, but not a harsh truth. And I haven't found the middle ground with this particular person to have a gentle truth. I mean, it's either, okay, I'll do it, or I think you're a fraud. And I haven't found the middle ground. The middle ground would be something like what I just said a minute ago about, I've found a great way to do my work, and it works, and it's worked for 4.5 years now or something. And so I'm going to stick to that, but I appreciate the offer. Gosh, that sounds perfectly fine.
Yeah, it should. Yeah, it should sound really fine. Because it is. Because it's just honest.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up to the end of the hour.
We've done it. That's right. I just looked up and we've expired our hour, so thank you so much for being here. Apparently, I think we might have Michelle joining us today. Is that you, Michelle?
Yeah, it is. Hi, Dr. Tim.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Susan. Just
hi.
Coming on the show.
All right. Well, thank you, Susan, for being with us. I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Have a great show.
Thank you.